And guys, as you can see, we have the classical variation in Italian game. And here he is preparing to push d4 to grab the center. So that's why knight to f6. Pragg now targets the e4 pawn, but Sindarov strikes in the center with d4. And after that, some takes happens in the center, and since this bishop is attacked, so Pragg gives a check from b4 square. And Sindarov defends with the knight takes e4, putting some pressure over the knight on d2, but d5 by Sindarov, directly attacking the knight on c6. And since this knight is attacked, so Pragg brings it on e7. And guys, here white must consider the move d6, trying to continue the attack, but instead he decides to castle queenside, showing his aggressive intentions. Here Pragg continues with d6, stopping any further advancement. And after that, here Sindarov launches the h-pawn. And guys, since white is launching an attack on the king side, most of us would definitely castle queenside to get away from the attack. But guys, Pragg is built differently. Despite the pawn push, he decides to castle king side, which shows that he is planning something very big. h5, Sindarov just continues the attack. h6, just stopping the further advancement of the h-pawn. And now Sindarov swings his rook to g1. He wants to push g4 and g5 to rip open the king side. So to stop this, Pragg plays bishop to g4, stopping the g4 push dead in its tracks. Okay, so knight to h4, preparing f3 to kick the bishop away, and if captures the pawn on h5, then white can continue with g4. But here Pragg finds a good move. He goes for queen to d7, which is a great tactical move. The idea is that if white now plays f3, that will be a mistake because of bishop takes h5. And if white attacks this bishop again with let's suppose g4, bishop to g6, and let's suppose if he decides to grab this bishop, and you can see now black gets this open f file where he is targeting the pawn on f3. So let's suppose if white pushed f4, queen to a4, attacking the bishop, and if let's suppose b3, queen to d7, and in the end you can see b5 is coming, and black is also going to target going to start pushing these queenside pawns, which makes this position better for black. Okay, so that's why after queen to d7, let me go back. Here Sindarov plays bishop to d3, placing the bishop on a more active square, where it is eyeing the king side while also getting rid of ideas like queen to a4. Okay, so now Pragg develops his rook on the e file, and now he is ready to grab the pawn on d5. And guys, here it would be better for white to consider the move f3 so that he can push this bishop onto the back foot. But instead, here Sindarov goes for bishop to c2, which is a mistake, because previously the bishop on d3 was controlling the b5 square, but now as you can see no one is guarding the b5 square, so Pragg instantly punishes him with queen to b5, and as you can see the queen is placed perfectly, eyeing e2 and also keeping control over the center while putting more pressure on the pawn on d5. And in the next move, as you can see, knight takes d5 is coming. Okay, so finally Sindarov attacks the bishop, but bishop takes h5. He attacks the bishop again with f3 with g4, but just bishop to g6, asking for bishop exchange, which obviously white can't accept. So that's why Sindarov plays knight to f5. And guys, that's a really good move by Sindarov. The idea is, if now black decides to capture on d5 with knight takes d5, that will be a mistake, because in this position now white can go for this amazing sacrifice, knight takes h6 check. And here the best move for black is to slide this king to f8, because if he, let's suppose, decides to capture this knight on h6, that will be a huge blunder, because now comes queen takes h6, threatening mate on h8. So to avoid this, black can play f6, but after queen takes g6 check, as you can see, this is completely losing for black. So that's why after knight to f5, yeah, let me go back. Here Pragg decides to bring his queen back to c5, and basically he pins the bishop on c2. So to unpin this, king to b1, Sindarov just slides his king, and after that knight takes d5. Here Pragg finally grabs the pawn on d5, and here Sindarov goes for knight takes h6 check. After g takes h6, bishop takes h6, f takes g6, rook to c1. And as you can see, since this queen is attacked, so queen to b5, and as you can see, now rook to e2 is coming, and Sindarov now grabs the h6 pawn, but okay, so now Pragg brings his queen to d4. What a defensive resource, guys. The queen comes back to just defend in, yeah, so the queen comes back to defend the g7 in time. Now queen to h7 check, king to f8, and after that queen takes g6. And now it's better for black to bring the queen back to f6, so that he can exchange the queen, because as you can see, this endgame is completely winning for black. But instead he goes for rook to e2, threatening mate on b2. But now Sindarov gives multiple checks. I mean, he starts with okay, so now rook to e1, and as you can see in the next move, Sindarov will bring this rook on h7, which will create massive pressure on e7. But Pragg plays queen to d3, a monster move, keeping an eye on g6 and also stopping white, stopping white from pushing f4 and f5. And now Sindarov plays rook to e3. He tries to attack the queen, but queen to g6, asking for queen exchange. But obviously Sindarov will avoid this trade, and now he goes for queen to b5, eyeing the b7 pawn. So to defend this, rook to b8, and after that rook at h goes to e1. And as you can see, he's preparing for rook to e6 so that he can pressurize the queen. But a6. First of all, Pragg just targets the queen to a4, and after that b5. Okay, so now Sindarov plays queen to a5. He doesn't go for the pawn because if he captures the pawn, then it would, make the queen quite useless. So that's why, so basically now queen to f7. Pragg simply, defends the knight on e7, and after that, rook to c1, aiming at c7. So to defend this, Pragg jumps his knight to d5. As well as you can see, he's attacking the rook, and in this position the final attempt by Sindarov is rook to d3, and basically the idea is he wants to sack the rook so that after queen takes rook, then just queen takes c7 check. But in this position the final move by Pragg is rook to b6. He just blocks the c7 square, and in this position Javokhir Sindarov resigned. This is because, let's suppose if this game continues like a4, if he tries to open the structure, but queen to f4, Pragg is gonna attack this rook. So rook at d goes to d1, but rook to e2, and if g5, queen to e5, attacking the pawn. So that's why rook to b1 is recommended, knight to e3. And you can see now Black is going to bring all of his pieces one by one. Okay, so now rook at d goes to c1, but knight to c2 check, king to a2, queen to d5 check. If b3, knight to b4 check, and if king to a3, rook to a2 check, king takes b4, but c5 check, rook takes c5, and the final move will be queen takes c5, and yup, that's a mate. What an absolutely brilliant play by Praggnanandhaa. Like this video and I will see you in the next one. This is your host Bison signing off. Bye bye.